The 10th film in the Madea Cinematic Universe is Boo! A Madea Halloween. And as crazy as it may sound, I'm convinced this movie is where Tyler Perry truly gave up on the Madea franchise. That might seem hard to believe considering how terrible most of these movies have been, but so far, each of them had at least one redeeming quality. There would be a cool car chase, or a stunt driving through a restaurant, or at least the plot of the movie would have a crazy sadistic woman torturing her husband. But Boo! A Madea Halloween has nothing. No redeemable quality, no high-effort stunt, and not even a comedy legend co-star. This movie instead shoves Fousey Tube in your face.
You see? Now this is why I know that tonight's gonna be epic, fellas!
For some reason, Tyler Perry wanted to evolve his domestic abuse rape movies into being family films. And this strategy was obviously failing. A Madea Christmas was essentially a family holiday movie without any objectionable content, and in Madea terms, it was a bit of a box office bomb. If you consider inflation, it was the lowest grossing Madea film at the time. Then he doubles down and makes a Madea cartoon movie for children. And from what I could find, it's unlikely the DVD sales covered the budget of the film. It is available for streaming on Tubi now, but I think they only pay you like $5. Boo! A Madea Halloween feels like the result of a spiteful man angry with his audience because his family-friendly Madea films weren't successful. So now he's producing the laziest and most explicit Madea movie yet. He throws the N-word in there a bunch despite the previous 9 movies never saying it. The humor about child abuse gets darker than ever before. And Potty Mouth Madea says the word fuck. These are all welcome changes in my personal opinion, but the spitefully lazy elements of the film make this one of the most excruciating Madea experiences so far. Basically, the film is a scam. They advertised it as a horror comedy and released it a week before Halloween. But the horror elements were all lies. If you watch the trailer and the movie back to back, you might consider a lawsuit. Kangaroo Jack is considered one of the most egregious examples of false advertising in a movie trailer. But at least those scenes happened in a dream sequence. The trailer for this movie literally has fake stuff in there to trick the audience into thinking the film was an entirely different genre.
Who the hell is it?
Hello, dear. Do you want to play a game?
Who is it? Who the hell is it?
This is Reverend Walker.
Hey, Reverend.
Hello, Madea.
Reverend, look here. If you calling to pray for me, I ain't got no time for that right now.
The movie trailer suggests Madea is going head-to-head with some sort of Jigsaw parody, but in reality, it's a call from the local minister asking her to come to church. Move over, blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. I just found a new unforgivable sin. And the trick he pulled paid off big time. The lowest effort, most embarrassing Madea movie yet became the second most successful in the franchise, bringing in $73 million, outperformed only by Madea Goes to Jail. And that cheeky devil saw those numbers, and his eyes lit up with dollar signs, and he immediately got to work on a sequel. The only numbered sequel in the entire franchise, Boo 2. And it released literally less than a year after the original. But audiences didn't fall for the same scam twice. And Boo 2 went on to become the new lowest performing Madea movie. But we'll get to that later. For now, we've got to catch up on Boo 1, starting with some Madea hijinks. Remember 9 reviews ago when I said Madea hijinks applies to all characters played by Tyler Perry, including Madea, Uncle Joe, and Madea's lawyer nephew Brian? Well, the Brian part of that equation is finally relevant. Basically, Tyler Perry is just doing his Madea shtick but without the dress and makeup. Brian's daughter Tiffany is still in high school, but on his drive home he finds Fousey Tube trying to get some. Uh-oh!
So why don't you ladies come on by and be Jonathan's special guest?
Who you talking to, son? Who you talking to? Do you see your grandpa here? Have you looked in the mirror, son? You're in college and you look like you're 67, okay? Bring it. I will whoop your ass. Do you understand that? I will whoop your ass.
Brian orders his daughter to get in the car, but she says no. and walks off with her friends. Meanwhile, Tiffany is planning on sneaking out that night to attend the fraternity Halloween party that FouseyTube invited her to. But homegirl Tiffany has her text messages synced to the iPad in the living room for some reason, and Brian reads some text messages that no father ever wants to see. Meanwhile, Madea and her cousin Bam are giving out candy to kids trick-or-treating. But Bam is secretly stealing handfuls of candy from the children while giving them a shitty little sucker. Yeah, that's right, dum-dum enjoyers. You are what you eat. Tootsie Pops for life. Am I right, my fellow owls? And of course, Madea makes fun of fat children.
Trick or treat. Oh, why they got that boy dressed like a cow? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Got that child dressed like chocolate milk in a box. Oh, you better watch him. He look like Biggie Bam. That's the OG right there. I'm telling you right now.
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Mabel. What? I'm telling you, you better watch him.
Somebody in a creepy clown costume dragging a giant jack-in-the-box approaches, and Medea's fear leads to anger, her anger leads to hate, and her hate leads to suffering. It turns out the Jack and Clown duo were actually Joe and their friend Hattie. I didn't know who Hattie was, but according to the Madea wiki, she used to rob banks with Madea and Bam. Anyway, at this point, Brian calls Madea so that she can raise his daughter for him, and they repeat the same joke they've already done 4 times now.
No, I can't.
I'll pay you.
I'm on my way. I'll be there now.
What kind of a lazy bastard just reuses the same tired joke over and over again? Boy, I sure do hope somebody got fired for that blunder. Madea and the gang all show up at Brian's house so they can babysit Tiffany. And this is when Tyler Perry's dialogue reaches what some would call new heights, and others may call new lows. Perhaps doubling down in the family-friendly direction and getting rejected twice broke something in his psyche, because Tyler Perry is writing some insanely dark and twisted updates to the Madea lore. Basically, when Brian was a kid, he was severely abused to a near-fatal level on multiple occasions by both Joe and Madea. And they spend the next 10 full minutes of the movie sitting in the living room proudly reminiscing about how horribly they gored a 4-year-old child, laughing in the face of the man they abused, advising him that he should treat his daughter the way they treated him, calling him the N-word in a pejorative way several times, even though he begs them to stop using that word specifically. Evidently, Joe threw Brian off a roof and a pencil went through one of his testicles, and then they all make fun of him for it for 2 full minutes.
I am not hitting my child.
Whoop that ass for you.
No, whoop her, whoop her, whoop her ass, 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 whoop her ass. What do you do? You don't whoop her ass.
Like I did you, I gave you lots of love taps.
That wasn't a love tap. I was on life support.
I told your ass to stop talking back to me, and what did you do?
I said that. I was talking back.
Right. So when I bust your ass and you ended up in the damn life support situation, whose problem did that belong to? See, your daddy was wrong. He'll beat the hell out of you and leave you out in the street, just bloody guts all over everywhere. I at least would take you to the hospital after I knocked the hell out of you. Let me just tell you something. If you're gonna try to teach a child a lesson and push them off a roof, at least check their pockets. Joe, you should have checked his pockets.
I forgot about that little pencil. Oh.
He had his little pencil in his pocket. Little pencil went straight through one of his little balls. Oh. Yeah, looked like a little Tootsie Roll on a stick there. Poor thing.
I was traumatized.
Bam, hush that.
Did it grow back?
You shouldn't have pushed me off that roof.
Did you die? Nigga.
How many times I have to tell you, stop using that word? That is a horrible word.
Nigga.
To stretch his movie to a proper runtime, Tyler Perry needed approximately 40 minutes of filler content of the 4 old people sitting in a living room riffing off each other, and a large percentage of it is the darkest, most deplorable shit he could think of. And you guys know me. I enjoy a dark sense of humor, so of course, I personally enjoyed most of this. The problem is, he already did this testicle joke in Meet the Browns.
That ain't funny. I got lead poison on my privacy.
What kind of a lazy bastard just reuses the same tired joke over and over again? So Tiffany sneaks out, Madea finds out immediately, and she leads everyone to the frat party so they can bring Tiffany home. Some frat guys assume Madea is a man in a costume and immediately start fondling her big sexy titties.
Boy, what the hell? You wanna see him?
Yeah, Twin Peaks.
You wanna see him?
Ooh. Nipples and everything.
Intricate.
See how warm?
How'd you get the veins to look?
See how warm?
They're wrinkly.
See how warm?
She then tells all the college girls they look like hoes, unplugs the music, and demands they bring her Tiffany. But they kick her out instead. Meanwhile, Tiffany is upstairs trying to have sex with FouseyTube. But just like every YouTuber in history, he decides not to fuck her when he finds out she's underage.
Does this look like a 17-year-old? Are you 17?
Then the police invade the party and the frat guys assume Madea is behind it. So they team up with Tiffany to get revenge. And in a way, this is also Tyler Perry getting revenge on his audience. The plan is simple, and in fact so simple, one might argue it isn't enough to sustain a movie, and would barely be acceptable as the plot of a 22-minute sitcom. All the frat guys are gonna dress up like spooky clowns, and Tiffany's gonna sneak them into the house. And then they're just gonna stand there doing nothing while the elderly black people scream and get violent and hope that their feats don't fail them now. Again, I know movie trailers are just marketing materials and all advertisements are a lie, but this trailer would really have you believe there are horror elements of any kind in this movie. It's literally just frat boys in clown costumes pulling a prank while fat stereotypes overreact. Madea beats up a few of the clowns and runs to the car. Then she gets a phone call from the Reverend telling her to come to the church, and Tiffany's friend explains the clown prank. And believe it or not, we're at the end of the movie. It's one final, delightful Halloween prank. Madea and friends put a fake dead body in the frat basement, then send in a bunch of Brian's cop friends to arrest the frat boys and load them into a prison bus. And fucking Huel Babineau is there threatening to rape them in the prison showers.
Nothing wrong with that, though. Good hugging in the shower, soap flying everywhere. So romantic.
The prisoners then start beating the shit out of the frat boys, and Madea is laughing her ass off.
Maybe you better watch out for that little one. He look like he getting ready to get raped for real.
Unfortunately for this movie, Madea hijinks only counts if we actually see it on screen. So while sitting in a living room joyfully reminiscing about puncturing toddler testicles might be the height of comedy in 2016, it is certainly not hijinks. I'll give her credit for flashing her titties to those college guys and punching all those clowns, and even Joe got to bash somebody with his cane, but otherwise this movie has little hijinks to offer. So in terms of Madea hijinks, I give this one a 3 out of 10. As somebody who never gave a second thought to his character, it was nice to see a new side of Brian. Maybe doing all that voice work for the cartoon movie inspired Tyler Perry to go on more Madea-esque rants without wearing the dress and makeup. Unfortunately, Madea herself brings nothing new to the performance table. She's basically been flanderized down to the few old jokes that Tyler Perry likes best. We don't see her maternal side from the earlier films. She's either sassy or scared the whole movie. So in terms of Madea performance, I'm also giving this one a 3 out of 10. While I do believe this film was a scam and its false advertising contributed to its financial success, there is another factor at play. A moment of cultural serendipity that every other Hollywood movie would be desperate to repeat for themselves, if only they could be so lucky. Some of you already know what I'm talking about. The 2016 clown sightings. Some of you Gen Alpha kids watching Madea reviews might be too young to remember this, but the fall of 2016 was the height of clown fever. There were viral stories going around about spooky clowns hanging out near the woods and shit, and this was happening all around the world. Now I know what you're thinking. Wow, Tyler Perry, you sly devil. You took advantage of the cultural moment and shoved it into your movie as cheaply as possible. And naturally, a movie trailer featuring Madea fighting off evil clowns being released during the height of IRL clown fever was gonna lead to some box office success. But dear viewer, what if I told you the clown sightings didn't start until August, and this movie was filmed from January to April? This motherfucker got the luckiest break in film history, accidentally making a Madea movie that appeals to a whole new audience. And he retroactively squandered it by intentionally producing a low-effort movie to punish his previous audience. And when he shit out a sequel less than a year later trying to pull the same trick twice, the people disgusted by the scam of the original weren't willing to pay again. And the sad thing is, the sequel actually has a lot more horror elements included, plus a higher budget. But it ended up being the lowest grossing Madea movie of all time. As you can probably guess, there was no Boo 3. I hated this movie. We went from Eugene Levy and Larry the Cable Guy to Fousey Tube. It felt like a fake movie made for Hollywood scam tax purposes. I don't know how that shit works. All I do know is that in terms of overall movie quality, I give this one a 2 out of 10, giving it a final score of 8 out of 30, landing it in last place on our list. Sorry, Brandon Gomez, but I beg to differ.